This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A.
It's the NBA Finals. Oh, my goodness. What a night, ladies and gentlemen. What a night. Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airways of ESPN Radio, 250 plus markets across the United States of America, plus ESPN Radio, Sirius XM style, Channel 80. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a lot of stuff to get into, and I just don't know where to start. I know it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. I don't know where to start. I really, really don't. But I think I got a clue. One of the biggest blunders in the history of basketball took place last night. And that was by a gentleman by the name of Mr. J.R. Smith. Y'all know him. If you're in Denver, you know him. If you're in New York, you know him with his days with the New York Knicks. And now he's with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And my God, what a blunder. With about 5 seconds left, George Hill, cutting to the basket, gets fouled by the Golden State Warriors, goes to the free throw line. And when he goes to the free throw line, with the Cavaliers down 107-106, George Hill has to make 2 free throws to put the Cavs ahead. With a little under 5 seconds left. And what happens? He makes the front end. He makes the front end of those free throws. And free throw number 2, he missed it. I'm not going to get as far. I'm not going to engage in the hyperbole that my producer Jonathan Witham tried to engage into, treating the man like he choked. No, if you missed the front one, if you failed to tie the score, then that's choking. But if you're down 1 with under 5 seconds left and you make the first free throw, clearly you didn't choke. You just missed it. He's an 80% free throw shooter. You got to make both free throws. He didn't make it. Okay, we get that. But inexplicably, Mr. Kevin Durant, and Lord, I will get to him later. Mr. Kevin Durant, of all people, fails to block out J.R. Smith on that free throw. J.R. Smith ends up getting the offensive rebound. And does he go up with it to score? Knowing the score is tied and a made shot can win the game, does he go up to it to score? No, he does not. Does he throw the ball outside to LeBron James standing above the top of the key? Does he do that? No. J.R. Smith grabs the rebound and dribbles out of the paint area, running towards half court. Clueless to what is going on. With LeBron James begging for the basketball and then suddenly, almost instinctually, calling a timeout. J.R. Smith launches it into the right corner to George Hill. Time expires. And the game is going into overtime. LeBron James is looking at him like, what are you doing with this crowd? I'm talking, you doing, what is it called? The meme? Those memes or whatever it is, or those memes. Is that what it's called? No, the memes. And the memes. And LeBron James' face. Oh my Lord. This will live for eternity. For basketball eternity. You will see that play over and over again. LeBron looking at him. What are you doing? What are you doing? And J.R. Smith uttered the words, I thought we were tied. He said, I thought we had the lead. I thought we had the lead. And LeBron James just looked at him with total disgust and walked over to the bench. It was overtime, 107-107. Needless to say, the Warriors blitzed them in overtime, outscored them 17-7. Tristan Thompson ends up getting himself ejected because he shoves a basketball in the face of Draymond Green. I don't believe he should be suspended for that. The flagrant to get him ejected was enough, but he shouldn't be suspended for that for the next game. Okay? Warriors are up 1-0 in this best of 7 series, having clearly escaped with this victory. Steph Curry was sensational. 29 points, 11 of 23 shooting, 5 of 11 for a 3-point range. Klay Thompson, who had a nasty injury early in the game, because J.R. Smith incidentally and accidentally slid into him while trying to defend him and cut up under him and twisted that ankle of his. But Klay Thompson finished with 24 points. He also hit 5 3-pointers. Ladies and gentlemen, I know Kevin Durant finished with 26 points. I know he hit 9 to 10 free throws. I know that he struggled from the field, shooting 8 of 22 from the field. Ladies and gentlemen, you talk about a brother that disappeared. He wanted no parts of LeBron James. He wanted no part. I don't care what nobody say. I know what I saw. I'm not talking about Kevin Durant, the player. I'm not talking about Kevin Durant for the series. I'm not talking about Kevin Durant for his career. I'm only talking about last night's game. Kevin Durant wanted no parts of LeBron James. No parts. But getting back to Cleveland, let me say this. I sit on these airwaves, ladies and gentlemen, calling it like I see it. No chasing. Just get right to it. I don't play those games. I'm going to call it like I see it. That's who I am. That's who I will stay. I'm not compromising that for a damn soul. But I got to tell you something. I've had to dissect and be critical of the greatest player in the world on several occasions throughout his illustrious career, because you're living in the moment. And we're going to live in the moment. Let's be fair here. I don't think there has ever been a time in LeBron James' professional career that I've ever felt worse for him than I did in game 1 last night. I felt so bad for LeBron James. 19 of 32 shooting from the field, 3 of 7 from three-point range, 51 points. 51, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, you can't put into words what I saw LeBron do last night. It was nothing short of sensational. And he completely dominated the Golden State Warriors. He dictated pace and tempo. He took advantage of every mismatch that they presented to him. He also hit the open man more than enough. He really, really did. Kevin Love had 20 shots after getting fresh off the concussion protocol. J.R. Smith had 10 shots. Jordan Clarkson had 9 shots. Jeff Green had 9 shots. Larry Nance Jr. had 6 shots. That is what we saw LeBron do. Golden State had absolutely positively no answer for him. I will give Steph Curry credit. He damn sure tried. Steph Curry played 46 minutes last night. Steph Curry wasn't backing down for anything. The big shots and the big plays that Golden State needed to make, by and large, Steph Curry made them. Klay Thompson also made sure to make his presence felt. Kevin Durant was an entirely different matter. But we'll get to that as the show progresses. I assure you of that right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. But the other thing that happened was with 36 seconds left, before the blunder of the blunder of the decade, if not the century, by J.R. Smith. 36 seconds are left. Golden State is down 2. Kevin Durant, for some inexplicable reason, Steve Kerr calls his number instead of Steph Curry or Klay Thompson. He calls his number, who's been struggling all night long. And Kevin Durant drives into the lane. LeBron James extends his feet outside the perimeter. He's outside of the perimeter, ladies and gentlemen. There is no confusion in that regard. He's outside the perimeter. His feet are not in it. Could he have been called for a block? Yes. But instead, Kevin Durant was called for a charge. When he was called for that charge, for some reason, the referees, Ken Maurer, Tony Brothers, Ed Malloy, felt this insatiable need to look at the videotape, to evaluate the play. And the next thing you know, it gets overturned. LeBron is called for a block instead of KD being called for a charge. KD goes to the free throw line. He's able to shoot and convert 2 free throws, which ultimately leads to Golden State tying up the game. which set the stage for everything that I highlighted for you already thereafter. Let me tell y'all something. I have a problem with it, and I don't blame the Cleveland Cavaliers for feeling like they were utterly robbed. They are livid. They are ticked off, and I don't blame them one bit at all. And here is why. The play should have never been reviewed. The only thing that's reviewable under that play is trying to decipher whether or not LeBron James was outside the restricted area and that he was basically live and eligible to try and generate a charge. That's it. Once that had been determined, there's no reason to determine a play. Now, it's subjective, and when you look at the subjectivity of it all, it is quite possible, if not likely, that the referees made the right call. Once a review. The problem was it should have never been reviewed. And that call is subject to human error. How in God's name is the greatest player in the world, the greatest player on the planet, in his 15th year, having played all 82 games, having logged more minutes than anybody in the NBA, at age 33, the preeminent basketball superstar in the world? How in God's name is this guy having a call overturned against him with 36 minutes left? How did that happen? It was disrespectful. It was ill-advised. It was wrong and boneheaded on the part of the referees. And it was micromanaging also on the part of the referees, courtesy of the league office. You can't make that play. You can't think that's okay to make that play. You cannot do that. And that is what they did. And what it cost them, I got to tell you. I'm of the mindset this may very well cost the Cleveland Cavaliers its only shot at the crown. I don't see how they can have this type of game again against Golden State. Maybe for a game when you get home, but that's about it. You ain't going to have another game like this at the Oracle. I wish I could tell you something differently, but I honestly cannot. I look at LeBron James now, again, 47 minutes, 33 seconds, 19 for 32 shooting from the field, 51, 8 and 8. I look at Kevin Love, 21 points, 13 rebounds. After that, the only person that scored in double figures was JR, and that was on 3 of 10 shooting for 10 points. I mean, you simply cannot make this up. You're overmatched. We all know this. You've got the odds stacked against you. And LeBron puts forth a virtuoso performance. Virtuoso. No doubt about it. And it ends up for absolutely positively nothing. I really don't know what to say. I really, really don't. I'm looking at this now. Can I count on Kevin Durant shooting 8 for 22 again? I don't think so. Can I count on Klay Thompson and Steph Curry having the games that they have? You're damn right I can. Sean Livingston came off the bench, played 18 minutes, it hit all 4 of his shots. I can count on him. I can count on all of that. Unfortunately, I can also count on JR and George Hill missing that free throw and finishing with just 7 points in 30 minutes. That's where I'm coming from with it. Where are you coming from with it? Numbers 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. I'm excited and exhausted all at the same time. I cannot believe what I saw. And I don't know how on earth they make this up. I don't know how. If you're the Warriors, are you really going to get out rebounded 53-38 second go round? Is Durant going to struggle from the field the way that he did? Is Klay Thompson going to be as hobbled and injured as he was? These are the questions. In the case of LeBron James, who's going to step up and help him? I don't know. I really, honestly don't have the answer to these questions. Where do they go from here? I guess you have to give LeBron James the ball more. I tell you what else I would do. Believe it or not, it's an unpopular decision. But I would start JR. I would start JR in game 2. And you know what? He'd have 3 minutes to make an impact. 3 minutes. And then after that, if he doesn't, I might not even get him a ticket home. I might let him play commercial his damn self. That's how disgusted I am with him. I mean, it really is. This is some bad stuff right here. And I don't know how JR gets away from it. I don't know how anybody gets away from what transpired, what we saw transpired. I really, really don't. But I'd start JR. I'd make sure he had to go out there and prove himself. And if he didn't do anything, if he looked the same old, I'd bench him inside of 3 minutes. And I wouldn't look back. Kyle Korver. He played 16 minutes last night. You know something? I'm playing him more. First of all, he's a better shooter. Secondly, he's a professional and more dedicated. I'm playing him more than Jordan Clarkson. And if I'm Ty Lue, I'm also inserting Rodney Hood into the game. He is 6'8". I need him. He's 6'8". He can play a little bit. I need him. I'm inserting him into the game. That's just me. 888-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. That was Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage in America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. That's just one story we're covering. We'll continue to dissect and handicap these finals to the best of our ability as the show progresses right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. But we also need to look at the story percolating out of Philadelphia. Apparently that burner account that Brian Colangelo got in trouble for, well, he said he didn't have an account. He never said his wife didn't. And the investigation has turned towards his wife, according to Adrian Wojnarowski and Zach Lowe for ESPN, how they're zoning in on the wife because the wife may have had those accounts. And the Philadelphia 76ers are like, we don't want to hear that. That means you had the account because that's your wife. We're going to hold you culpable for that. And if indeed the wife had the account and the wife were the things that were saying those things, how can you not let go of Colangelo? Because the belief is going to be that he was fully aware that the wife said it, or he echoed those sentiments to his wife. And as a result, they're going to turn around and let him go. The way this story is unfolding, it looks incredibly incriminating. I like Brian Colangelo. I can't imagine that he would do something like this. But if it is true, he does deserve to go. Can't be talking about players. Can't be divulging private medical reports. Can't be doing all of that. He does that. He's found to have done that. He's found to have had any association with that being done knowingly. It's a wrap. I don't think he's going to survive. It's not in Philadelphia. And remember, they're not that fond of him anyway. Anytime they see Jason Tatum in Philadelphia, it's a problem for Colangelo because he had the third pick. Boston had the first. He swapped with Boston so he could get the number 1 overall pick, gave up a first round to Boston, plus Boston dropped to third and still ended up getting the player they wanted all along, to Jason Tatum. Brian Colangelo did all of that to get Markelle Fultz. That's not going to cut it, ladies and gentlemen. That's just not going to cut it. More of the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio. More with your calls and then some in a minute.
Washing my nose, oh yeah.
I'm a shower curtain, and I do one thing, keep water from leaking everywhere. So you see why I feel useless compared to Geico, who does so much more. Like, not only could Geico save you money, but they've been around for over 75 years. And they give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or on the Geico app. And they've got a 97% customer satisfaction rating. They do all this while I have to listen to this chucklehead. Oh, good, he stopped.
Washing my toes.
Oh, great, an encore.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more. You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Welcome back to Stephen A. Smith Show right here, ESPN Radio. I could keep talking because there's so much ammunition, but I'm not going to lie to you. Operating on 2.5 hours sleep, working overtime on these NBA finals. I mean, as exhausted as I am, I could still talk all day about these finals. But I know y'all got a lot to say. There's just too much ammunition to ignore here. So let's get right to the phones at 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. 888-729-3776. Jay in Long Island, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, Jay.
How's it going today, Stephen A?
Man, it's crazy, man. What a game. What a game.
It's what a game, but it's a couple things. And I know you were talking earlier, and you were saying, I'm not accusing you of being compromised or any of that other stuff. I'm not talking about other people. I just have a problem with a few things. I think people keep making excuses for LeBron, and they're trying to pin this loss on JR, which I emphatically disagree. And the reason why I disagree is because J.R. Smith did not cost him the game. J.R. Smith, did he make a bad miscalculation or a bad mistake? Yes, but it didn't cost him the game. He got the ball at 4.7. Now, most of the time when you're coaching, the coach already has a player, so if he missed, he made what we're going to do. People usually talk in between free throws and things like that. So it should have already been said that if we get this rebound, we're going to either shoot, or if he makes it, we're going to do this or that. Where was the game plan at? Because we're trying to blame J.R. Smith. Once J.R. Smith got the rebound, LeBron couldn't call a timeout.
Stop. You've talked enough, Jay. Here's why. Nobody's blaming JR for losing the game. There were plenty of things that happened in the game. George Hill missing a free throw. The coach is not calling a timeout. Once JR got the rebound, there were plenty of things that transpired that you could point to that contributed to the loss. And the Cleveland Cavaliers are walking around feeling like they got completely hosed and robbed by the referees. What I'm saying is that doesn't escape that disastrous, egregious, inexplicable, boneheaded decision by a professional athlete. Jay, you can't call up here today and just bypass a guy making that kind of error with a championship on the line. You can't even look at the score? Come on, Jay.
Stephen A., you play ball. I play ball. When you're in a game of that magnitude, it's talking on the court.
Stop. You are absolutely right, Jay. If you're playing, not when action has stopped and your teammates at the damn free throw line. That's what you're missing in this, Jay. At that moment, they weren't running up and down the court. George Hill was at the free throw line. Come on, Jay.
Now, Stephen A., we talk all the time, throwing free throws, one, miss, make one. We point at the clock. We're saying do this, rebound time, but we're talking. But let's say, okay, let's put that aside and say, okay, you want to blame, let's say we're going to blame J.R. Smith. We're going to say it's a blunder, which I don't agree with. Let's go to
Hold it, Jay. No, I'm not letting you go because I'm about to cut you off and ban you from this show for at least a week and strip your basketball card. What are you talking about? All right, let's just say it was a blunder, which I don't think was. You don't think that was a blunder?
I think it was one of the mistakes that was in the game, but I don't.
I understand that. That it was one of the mistakes. It was a huge mistake. It was under 5 seconds left.
To me, the missing a free throw, the missing a free throw when you have a chance to win the game is bigger to me than J.R. Smith getting a rebound and the clock.
Missing the free throw is missing a free throw. It's not a blunder. You missed. There's tell me one professional athlete in the history of basketball that hit 100% of their free throws, Jay. Take your time.
Nobody.
Tell me one player in the history of the sport, since James A. Naismith created the sport, since cardboard boxes were used as rims. Tell me one player in the history of basketball that made 100% of their free throws. One.
Oh, well, tell me one player ever that lost a game that was tied. Nobody has ever lost a game that was tied. So
what?
You make a mistake.
I just finished telling you that J.R. Smith didn't lose the game. I said you can't make that blunder, and you can't even admit that the man made a blunder. So your basketball card is stripped. Goodbye. I'm not listening to stuff like that. When you such a hater that you can't even acknowledge, damn, this is exactly how the call from Jay should have went just now, ladies and gentlemen. Man, Stephen A. J.R., that was a bad mistake. You can't mess up like that. But let me tell you what else was on my mind. Then I'm listening to you. But when you can't even admit that, you know what? You ain't no better than my boy Champ, who hates on LeBron the same way Carlton and Tampa hates on Bill Belichick. You can't see the forest from the trees when it comes to certain individuals that you just hate on. And I'm not going to listen to that today. Not today. Not today. J.R. Smith. That was a colossal, egregious blunder, the likes of which we haven't seen. Magic Johnson once dribbled out the clock, not even remembering that the score was tied in Game 2 of an NBA Finals in '84. Did y'all know that? That was very, very bad. But you know the difference? It was actual play that was going on. It wasn't action being put to a halt because somebody was at the free throw line. Where the hell were you? You know what that reminds me of, Nuno, John, Cat? You want me to tell you what that reminds me of? That reminds me of the movie Forrest Gump when he was standing in the end zone waiting for the kickoff to come to him. You know what I'm saying? And then he was just looking into the sky somewhere and somebody said, run! Here, take the ball, run! He's like, oh, and just ran. He was just sitting up there thinking about something. It wasn't a football game, but it was something. That's what we saw from JR last night in that play. You cannot ignore that. Now, Jay's absolutely right. There were other mistakes that were made. But you can't call up here and ignore that blunder and expect me to take you seriously. I don't trust your basketball objectivity when you do that. And I'm not going to listen to you if I can't trust your objectivity. Justin in Jersey, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, how you doing, Stephen A.? Thanks for taking my call.
Go ahead,
I was wanting to talk about the refs. To me, I felt like even before the J.R. Smith thing happened, I felt like the refs ruined the game for LeBron. I mean, what a great game for one, a lot of people were expecting a blowout, and for a fan, it was just such a great game, and I felt like LeBron deserved to win that game. And like that strip that LeBron had on Kevin Durant, and then the one that George Hill had on Kevin Durant, those calls, and then especially that block charge, I've just never seen that I can recall them reversing a call, especially on, such a important play. I just want to get your thoughts. Do you feel like the refs kind of blew that game?
I think the refs had too much of an impact on this game. They missed several calls. It was a bad night on their part. The most egregious was reversing the charge call against Kevin Durant and calling a block on LeBron James, whose feet were clearly out of the restricted area. That is the only time that the play is reviewable. If you have a question mark about the feet being in a restricted area, the second it was determined that his feet was a foot outside the restricted area, the review should have ended then. And that should have been that. It was an egregious oversight on a part of the referees. They impacted an NBA championship finals game, and it's just unfortunate that happened. Best way to state it.
It makes me sick. It just really does. LeBron deserved that win. I don't know how they come back. I hope they do. You can't count LeBron out, but you never know. But I appreciate you taking my call.
Thank you. Appreciate the call as well. 888-SAY-ESPN is 888-729-3776. We'll continue with more of your phone calls off of Game 1 on the NBA Finals last night. Lots more to get into before my man Tim Legler comes on to join us at the start of hour number 2. Your calls in more in a minute. Game 1 of the NBA Finals is the subject at hand. What's the biggest reason the Cavs lost this game last night? And how do you feel about Kevin Durant's performance? All that and more coming up. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it.
Get back to the phones right here. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. I knew my boy Champ would call. I'm going to put him on the line right now, my boy from Detroit. Champ, before you utter a word out of your disrespectful mouth towards LeBron James, let me warn you that not only am I here, but your boy Juvie is here with me. I'm just warning you. I'm just warning you.
I'm not scared, though. Just let both of y'all know.
Go ahead.
I mean, last night, it was right there on the platter.
Champ, speak up and get that damn noise out of the background. Tell those people around you to be quiet. You on the national airwaves. Go ahead.
Last night was a huge opportunity. He was unbelievable. It felt like Allen Iverson in 2001. So when everybody's talking about blaming someone, it's kind of really hard to blame. The call, that was a bad call. They shouldn't even have that in basketball where you can make a replay. I question that, but you got to give credit to Kevin Durant to knock down the free throws. Now it's a tie game. LeBron attacks the basket, he scores. But coming back down, Curry gets in the lane. Kevin Love's not supposed to make that foul. If you're going to fail, make sure you don't make the layup. So now they go at 1 point. The shot clock is off. This is what we've been looking for. This is what everybody was saying about LeBron James. He can beat Boston, Toronto, Indiana in clutch moments. He's down one. Now he has to make a decision. I don't like the pass yesterday to George Hill. What about you?
George Hill was open. He was cutting to the basket. All right, he's an 80% free throw shooter. If he doesn't get fouled, it's a layup. What's the problem?
You're making my point. LeBron James, 40.5 points. If you go back, I looked at the tape. I ran it back. When legs on the show, you asked him, tell me if I'm wrong. I want LeBron to go down swinging. If you miss, you down 0-1. If you make, now the pressure is on. You the play the world and everybody looking at you. Now the comparison becomes very interesting today if LeBron hit the jump shot to win the game. Am I right or wrong?
Well, you're wrong, and here's why you're wrong. He made the right play in that situation. It was a high percentage scenario with George Hill. That's why he got fouled, because they had to foul him because it would have been a layup. Not to mention the fact you act like Michael Jordan never gave it up to anybody to win a game, win a shot. He's giving it up to John Paxson. He's giving it up to Steve Kerr. So what's the problem?
I don't think you want me to answer that, but I'm going to answer anyway. When Paxson shot the shot, had he missed, it was going to Game 7. Had Kerr missed, it was going to Game 7. Okay? Now
this is Game 1.
It's Game 1, but you were heavy underdog, and everybody was saying you didn't have enough to win. It was just a moment. I'm not blaming LeBron today. I thought he was phenomenal. I would have liked LeBron to take the shot. I'm not saying he blew the game or anything like that. I just felt like the moment was there for the taking, and he did not take fully advantage of it. That's all I'm saying.
I just think that there were several moments in this game where his dominance was clear. And where I'm disappointed in you, Champ, is this. One game, where the hell was Kevin Durant?
It don't matter.
This is a top three talent. Stop right there. No, you don't get to do that because you complain to me all the time when LeBron wins. You don't get to sit up there and say it don't matter. Kevin Durant won last night. I want to see two superstars going head to head. Kevin Durant showed no fear, went right at LeBron last year during the NBA Finals, putting the world on notice that his time had arrived. And then we were looking for part two. And LeBron comes out and drops 51 in Game 1 after averaging a triple-double in last year's NBA Finals. And Kevin Durant, listen, I don't even know why Steve Kerr called this number in the fourth quarter. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Well,
the way Steph Curry was playing, all right, I wouldn't even call this number.
Well, I think Sunday is gut check for Kevin Durant. I think he will respond with a 35 to 40-point performance for the win.
So do I. But we talk about Game 1.
Right. But I don't think when you talk about blaming, I blame JR for what he did, but I don't think that was a call for the game. Tyrone Lue should have called a timeout. I mean, it's a lot of things that went out the way yesterday at the end, but to blame anybody for that, I thought they played terrific. It's just in overtime, the home team stepped up and made plays. I just would have liked to see LeBron James take the final shot and see what happens. That was just me for today. For yesterday, that was it. I'm not blaming LeBron for the loss. I just wanted him to have that moment.
Look, man, even my man Juvie told me to hang up on you. You just
hang up on me. I'll see y'all Wednesday.
We'll talk to you later, man. We'll talk to you later, champ. Bye. I tell you, boy, champ is basketball's version of Carlton when it comes to Bill Belichick and football. I mean, if Bill Belichick sprayed perfume, Carlton would accuse him of passing gas. All right? And Carlton can hate on LeBron too now. Talked about all them turnovers LeBron had in the Eastern Conference Finals. I ain't heard from Carlton since LeBron won the East. And you got champ too. Listen, I'm no LeBron lover. I'm just no LeBron hater. Gotta call it like I see it. But I appreciate my brother champ as always. No doubt. He's always welcome to call into the show. Hour number 2 up next. My man Tim Legler will be on the line. Looking forward to talking to him. The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio. Coming back with you with more in a minute.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here on ESPN Radio. Always honored and privileged to have my next guest on the line. He's my buddy. Used to do NBA shoot-around together. I know very, very few people, if anybody, knows more basketball than this man. Does an outstanding job for ESPN, giving his basketball analysis. You can catch him every night, practically, as far as I'm concerned, on Van Pelt and every other sports center you can imagine. My buddy, the one and only Tim Legler, is right here with yours truly. What's going on, big time? How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. I'm proud of you. Had a late night, early morning. I like this.
I'm glad you like it, Tim. I'm glad you like it. I could do a little bit more sleep, you know.
I hear you.
Let's get right to it. Yep. I mean, we're going to dissect this game and all the parts that took place that led to the outcome that it led to. But let me start off by confessing, Tim, I don't know if I've ever felt worse for LeBron James. Talk about a wasted effort. The incredible performance that he put forth in the NBA Finals last night, 51 points, all for naught because they ended up losing. Why did the Cavs lose this game?
Well, first of all, let me say I agree with you about the sympathy for LeBron. There were 2 times in his career when I genuinely felt sick to my stomach for him. First was the first year against Golden State when he's out there basically by himself, without his 2 other stars that were supposed to be on that stage, and his resignation after that series was over. I'll never forget that press conference and how depressed he was. And then again last night, because there's nothing more that a human being can do in a team sport than what he did last night to try to get his team a win. They lost the game because of a couple of stretches. And it's not just the end of the game, because for me, Stephen A., I thought there was also another key stretch that no one's talking about, which was the last 3-4 minutes of the first half that carried into the first 4 or 5 of the second. Because basically Cleveland, if you take the 48 minutes prior to overtime, they outplayed Golden State for the most part.
Yes, they did.
They allowed an 11-point lead to disappear before halftime, including late in the half, up 3 with the ball. And they end up leaving tied because they don't score on that possession. And J.R. Smith has the stupid, really just almost careless gamble on that play on Steph Curry at the half. Curry hits a 3. The roof blows off the building. And now you're walking off the court in which you played a great half feeling terrible about yourself. So, and then third quarter started and Golden State picked up where they left off, normally in the third. Now, having said all that, Golden State still put themselves in a position, or Cleveland still put themselves in a position to win the game. Even after the block charge, they took the lead. And there's about 4 things after that they didn't do well enough to win, starting with the 3-point play by Steph Curry on a soft touch foul by Kevin Love on a play where you get there late. You're not a shot blocker. Steph Curry feels almost no contact on his way to the rim in the biggest possession of the game, and they give him a 3-point play. So that's first. Second, obviously, right. George Hill has to make the free throw. I mean, people can say, hey, that's a physical mistake, and people miss free throws. Yeah, they do, but don't compare a missed free throw in the third or second quarter to that, because you have to make those. If you get Golden State on the road, okay, a chance to win the game basically at the foul line, you've got to come through. So they failed there. And obviously, I know we're going to talk more about the J.R. Smith thing, but then the J.R. Smith mental collapse followed by no one calling timeout, because there were opportunities to do that as well. So I think that's 4 different things I just pointed out in the last 30 seconds of the game that they still had a chance to win. So they didn't manage the end of the game obviously well, and then they had that one key stretch at the end of the half when I felt they should have gone into the locker room up double digits. Instead, it was a tie game.
So, Tim Legler, when you look at all of those things, how much weight should we put on the shoulders of JR because of that last play where he forgets the fact that the game is tied, thinking they have a lead, and he's trying to run out the clock? How much weight should we put on his shoulders because of that one play?
Yeah, a lot, because it's egregious. It just is. There's one person responsible for it, and it's J.R. Smith, period. Somebody tried to compare it. And I don't know if you did this, but I know people on Twitter were trying to compare this to the Chris Webber situation. And I said the difference in that is this. Number one, obviously, you have a college player and a pro. So right off the bat, that's a difference. The second thing
I pointed that out.
The second thing is it's very common for a player to lose track of how many timeouts your team has in the course of a game. And it should be constantly reminded by the coaching staff. Okay, but it happens a lot. It gets hard to keep track sometimes late in the game. Whether you have a timeout, you don't. But what J.R. Smith did is 100% on him, and it's remedied by looking at the scoreboard and understanding and grasping time and score and processing. After the first shot, you look up just to make sure now, okay, here we go. We're tied. Now, as he's dribbling the basketball, you're standing there. I've been in that situation. You are processing what to do in either scenario. And he completely went blank. I actually think he had already in his mind assumed he was going to make it. And he's thinking about what are we doing now after we have this lead, as far as, are we going to do token pressure? Are they going to call timeout? What's going to happen here? Because he was looking over at the bench. And I think his mind was already anticipating being up one. So when he gets his hands on the ball, he just goes blank and dribbles the clock out. So a lot of weight. But look, here's the thing. The truth of the matter is you don't know if they're going to score there. So to say definitively that cost them the game, that's saying too much. The problem I have is it's an egregious mistake for a professional basketball player to make, to not understand time and score at the end of the game.
And I tell you something, Tim Legler, listen, you can call it inside information. You can call it knowing the team, the players, the coaches, et cetera, et cetera. But listen to this. If this were Kyle Korver and he made such an error, I don't think it's absorbed and taken, with the level of disgust that it was taken as it pertains to J.R. Smith. Because in one hand, you see an individual that's just about being a professional and doing the job to the best of his ability. And on the other hand, you see a guy who has dissipated in terms of his cachet, his performance over the last couple of years. This is a starting shooting guard in the NBA that hasn't averaged in double digits over the last 2 years. And you hear so many questions about JR in terms of his focus, his commitment and dedication. What do you make of all of that? Because I think that when you take the latter into consideration, there's going to be a heightened level of disgust, which to me explains why LeBron walked off the set last night, because you don't want to call out your own teammate, but you're absolutely disgusted at the obvious.
No, you're 100% right. And that is why he walked out, because he couldn't sit there for one more second and listen to anyone ask him about something that LeBron James probably would have been aware of when he was 8 years old, standing on the edge of the lane. Truthfully. Seriously. And I said it on SportsCenter this morning. I coached my son since he was 5. He's playing in college now. My son would have processed that situation at 10 years old. I'm telling you right now. He would have understood time and score, and that ball comes off the rim and he grabs it. He knows we got to get a shot up or call timeout. So LeBron it's so far removed from his ability to conceive that you couldn't know that situation. He couldn't stomach one more question about it and having to just kind of deflect because he doesn't want to, completely humiliate J.R. Smith and throw him under the bus. But you're right, what you said. Look, there are certain guys, they have certain things that they carry around with them, certain baggage because of other things in their career that they have, basically portrayed. So J.R. Smith is one of those guys that you go, man, of all people, because of that. First of all, Kyle Korver would get put into that category of guy just because I know him and I know his IQ. Right? It's inconceivable that could ever happen. Right. It's impossible to think that Kyle Korver could ever make that mistake. So I can't even entertain that thought. Honestly, I couldn't even think J.R. Smith, with some of the things he's done early in his career, could be capable of that, because you're talking about 4.5 seconds. Okay. You're walking up to the edge of the lane. You're looking up. First of all, I know myself. I was so in tune with what was going on, I wouldn't even have had to look up because I'm memorizing what's going on in the moment anyway. So as soon as Steph Curry lays it in and gets the free throw, I know we're down 1. Now everything that happens after that, now I don't even have to look up there because I know the situation. But you still have the opportunity in a dead ball to look at the scoreboard and get an idea. What's the deal here? Okay, we're down 1, makes the first one. Glance up again if you need to. I mean, they change the number at the table for you. It's not like you got a pad and notebook out there trying to, do chicken scratch, trying to keep score. They're doing it for you. They do the one up, and now you look up, and now it's tied. Now get ready for the second shot. So it's really hard for anyone to really conceive that's this game has been their life, that you could lose track of the moment the way that he did. And then later on, my goodness, to try to say he understood
to
was
double down.
Oh my goodness.
To double down and to say that you knew the score. That might be even worse.
No, I knew it was tied. Yeah, of course I knew it was tied. What? No, first of all, this is the other thing about players today. They forget, I think, in the moment that we got super duper duper slow-mo, high def, zoomed in resolution on your lips. And the world is watching you say, plain as day, I thought we were ahead. And then even Tyronn Lue said it. After the game, he said at the press conference, he thought we were up 1. So he clearly probably, communicated that to Tyronn Lue as he's walking over to the bench, because I would have needed an explanation. So, and then he tries to say later, oh, no, I knew it was tied. So that made it worse, I think. It's a kind of a difficult thing to own up to, I guess, because it's so humiliating, and that's why he didn't. But oh my goodness, man! There's so many things that you feel bad about for the Cavs today because the way they played in that game, and we all know that's your opportunity in Oracle probably to make this a series.
Tim Legler right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. You know the other big play with LeBron James, ultimately drawing a charge from Kevin Durant in the last 36 seconds, and then the officials going to the scorer's table and ultimately overturning it and turning it into a blocking foul against LeBron James. To me, it was egregious on several levels, Tim Legler. Okay. Number one, LeBron James' feet was clearly outside that perimeter. So to me, the play should have never been reviewed once that had been determined. Secondly, to overturn it, it's such a subjective call. To overturn it against the greatest player in the game today, the preeminent superstar in the game today, playing like a superstar in game 1 of these NBA finals, I found to be so incredibly egregious. Break down that play for me. Tell me what your thoughts were. Tell me how you feel about the decision being overturned.
Okay, so live action, I'm watching the game. It happens, that high-speed collision happens in the blink of an eye. And my initial reaction was I wasn't sure, but I felt like LeBron slid a little bit at the end, but I didn't know. And then you see Ken Maurer make the charge call. I'm like, all right, charge. I can live with that because you really don't know. It was such a bang bang play. Now they determined that he was close enough to the restricted area that they're not sure if he was in it. Need to take a look. Well, when you see the replay, he's a foot above it. So for me, that's not close to the restricted area. So I completely agree with you that if that is your basis for going over to the table, I think you went over there under false pretenses. So I agree with you 100%. They never really should have gone over there. Now, Joe Borgia last night, late night, I saw him do an interview, and he actually gave a little bit of a different explanation as to why. He said Eddie Malloy, who was the third official, who was over on the sideline opposite the benches looking at the play, from his angle, Jeff Green's back was to him, and Jeff Green's foot was in the restricted area, like right on the line when all this went down. Joe Borgia said he believes that Eddie Malloy came over when he saw there was a discrepancy between the two officials and basically said, we need to take a look at this for the restricted area because he saw a foot. And Eddie Malloy had a different angle. What he was looking at was more Jeff Green's back, and his right foot is on that line. So he may have had some part in, okay, let's make sure we don't have a restricted area situation. Let's just go take a look at it. So now I agree they shouldn't have gone over. But the point is, once they did, and I got to see the replay over and over and over, to me, that is a block. Now, here's where I agree with you. The problem I have with being even allowed to change a call like that is because of the subjectivity of the nature of the call, okay?
Exactly.
And here's my point with that. If you showed that play, even after a replay like that, to 100 officials, you might get a 60-40 split. Even after the replay, you're not going to get a consensus.
And if you got a 60-40 split, Tim Legler,
right,
in the NBA Finals, in the last minute of the game, you can't make that call against LeBron James.
I agree with you. And where I was battling some people on Twitter last night, because you know how people are, they love their teams. If you disagree with anything that doesn't benefit their team, they're going to come at you. My point was, if you're asking me what I see when I see that replay, I see LeBron James' upper body leaning over to an extent that he allows himself, because he is leaning over there, to absorb the brunt of the contact in a way that makes it look like a charge. And if he doesn't lean that way, I don't think we feel the same way about the call, because Kevin Durant might be able to wedge his way in there a little bit between the two of them. So when I look at the replay, to me, it's a block, but all of the circumstances around how we're even in this situation where they can reverse it, I completely agree. The Cavs and the Cavs fans, they should be heated. It's a very difficult pill to swallow, because you just have never seen a call like that, certainly on a stage like this, that really dramatically affected the outcome.
With all of this said, Tim Legler, can the Cavs recover from this?
Yeah, I think they can, and I'll tell you why, Steve, because first of all, I think it's a blessing that they have 2 days off. Because today, it feels like a death march, going over to shoot around or film or whatever you're doing. Okay? Tomorrow, the spirits start to get picked up a little bit. They watch the film again, and now they start to see all of the things that they did well in that game. And, by the way, things that aren't going to change. Namely, if the Golden State Warriors continue to just indiscriminately switch whoever onto LeBron, like he can get whoever he wants to guard him, namely Steph Curry, whenever he wants to, he's going to continue to do this. Like, he's going to have 40-point games in this series. And if that's the case, he's controlling the action to such an extent, you're going to be in some one-possession games late. And that's all you can ask for if you're the Cavs. Just get us in a position where we have a chance to win with the best player in the world on our team. And if they continue to guard him that way, that's going to continue to happen. So the more they watch the film and they watch how physically they beat them up on the offensive glass, they are going to start to feel a lot better by Saturday afternoon into the evening. And by the time they get up on Sunday and start to think about shoot around and heading over to the arena, they're going to have a chip on their shoulder the size of the city of Cleveland, because they're going to feel like we outplayed them. We're going to do it again. We had it taken from us. This is their mindset. And we're going to go in there and get the split we came out here to get. So I do believe they can recover.
You know, it's interesting. Before I let you get on out of here, just a couple of more quick questions. Is it just me, or did I see a superstar by the name of Kevin Durant that didn't seem to want any part of LeBron James last night?
Yeah, it wasn't the same as last year, was it?
No.
Because last year, the one thing, Kevin Durant took so much heat going to that team. Mm-hmm. And as we went through the season, there was all kinds of vitriol thrown his way and questioning his competitiveness and toughness and all that stuff. And I kept saying all year, the one thing he can do to shut everybody up is match up with LeBron in the finals and be the best player in the series. And he was. So he did that. Now, last night didn't have that feel. I thought Steph Curry looked incredible. I thought Mark Jackson made a great point on the broadcast, which is, it is amazing how much fresher Steph Curry looks in this series, not having to guard Kyrie Irving, not having to get isolated 35 times a game by the Houston Rockets like he was, and how much fresher he looked. He looked quicker. He looked more aggressive. He looked more confident. He looked like the MVP Steph from his first year. That's what he looked like last night. And it's amazing how good he looked. Kevin Durant had good numbers, but it wasn't like at any point you even really noticed Kevin Durant was doing his thing.
He disappeared. He disappeared. Had 4 of 11 shooting from the field in both halves last night before finishing with 26 points. Before I let you get on out of here, let me switch gears real quick, Tim Legler, because you've got Philly roots. Obviously, I do as well, writing in that town for years. President of Basketball Operations, Brian Colangelo, according to reports, his job may be on the line. The Philadelphia 76ers are seriously considering firing him because that burner account that may have or may not have been his, now it appears his wife may have been involved. It may have been her burner account, according to reports. I don't say definitively, but it's possible. There's a possible connection there. It's being reported by Adrian Wojnarowski and Zach Lowe of ESPN. Your thoughts about this whole fiasco in Philadelphia real quick?
Shocked and stunned, having known Brian Colangelo for a long time. I know how smart the guy is. I know, the professional career that he's had, the family that he comes from, the lineage. Yeah. He knows the job. He knows the traps and pitfalls that you can find yourself in. I'm shocked by the entire story. We don't know all the details yet, but this looks really bad for him and his future. And, they've kind of, information we're getting is, the team is not going to differentiate between him and a family member, basically.
Right.
That's what they're saying. So even if he had no knowledge of this whatsoever and somebody in his family did this on their own and they're making those comments, there's going to be a tie to Brian Colangelo. And there's this stuff that came out of his mouth at home. So even if he gets cleared of having knowledge of it, the content of it, if it came from someone that he is connected to, there's culpability there that maybe this is his thought process, and now you run a team that's got guys on it that you've ripped, and free agents are out there watching this. I mean,
I'm gonna tell you what the problem is, Tim Legler. If you remember, with Commissioner Roger Goodell, his wife had a burner account. Now, she didn't say anything egregious. She spoke protectively of her husband, and she didn't want anybody to know that it was her. But it was clear that Roger Goodell had some knowledge of it, at least by some people's account. And I think what the Sixers are saying is, there's no way in hell your wife had this account and you didn't know. I think
I agree. And that's why, listen to me. Come on, man. If your wife is doing something like that, or your son or one of his teammates, that was the other speculation. You're right. There's no possible way that you wouldn't have some knowledge of it. Now, he's fighting for his life today. I know that. He's begging for his job. You know, and I know. Social media will bring you down. And we see it on a daily basis across all industries.
Yeah.
Right? They don't discriminate. And the reaction is, and by the way, you've got a large faction of people in Philadelphia already that had some issues with Brian Colangelo.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Because every time they see Jason Tatum playing for Boston, they got a problem with Brian Colangelo.
Correct. The fan base there, and you know how much media coverage they get with the talk radio and the beat writers. I mean, it's a sports town, man, one of the biggest in the country, and they cover their teams like all the major cities do. The fan base already had issues. So that's going to hurt him. It's not like he's beloved universally in that city where now maybe he gets some support behind him with all the callers on the sports talk radio. He's going to get the opposite. And that's going to weigh heavily on the decision that the organization makes.
Yeah. Tim Legler, great job as always, man. Appreciate you, buddy. Keep doing the great job you've been doing. We'll talk soon.
You got it, buddy. See you.
All right. The one and only Tim Legler, NBA analyst extraordinaire for ESPN, right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. 888-SAY ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. He said an awful lot there. There's an awful lot all of you should want to respond to, because I damn sure know I do. More of the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio coming at you in a minute.
Washing my nose, oh yeah.
I'm a shower curtain, and I do one thing. Keep water from leaking everywhere. So you see why I feel useless compared to Geico, who does so much more. Like, not only could Geico save you money, but they've been around for over 75 years. And they give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or on the Geico app. And they've got a 97% customer satisfaction rating. They do all this while I have to listen to this chucklehead. Oh, good, he stopped.
Washing my toes.
Oh, great, an encore.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Let's get back to the phones. Let's go to Clark in New York. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Clark?
What's going on, Stephen A. Smith? I'm upset about what happened yesterday, but I just wanted to ask, what makes the Cavalier coaching staff believe that they can still trust in J.R. Smith at this point of the season?
It's not a matter of trusting him. It's a matter of looking at the level of production or lack thereof you're getting from other people. I personally would put Kyle Korver in for more minutes, even though J.R. Smith is a much better defender in their eyes. Jeff Green has more size. You need him out there. Kyle Korver can't play that position the way that he can. Jordan Clarkson is really struggling from the field, so I'm close to giving up on him. To me, you could decide to go the route of Rodney Hood. Take your chances on him. He's 6'7", 6'8", lefty, can shoot jump shots. He can't be worse than J.R.'s been. I take my chances.
Okay, and last question. The way Kevin Durant was looking yesterday, I believe that if the Warriors were to lose this series, it would be worse than LeBron James losing to the Mavericks in 2011.
You're right. I agree with you. Totally agree with you. It would be much worse. No doubt about it, because the Cleveland Cavaliers ain't that Dallas Mavericks team that beat LeBron and the Miami Heat with Dirk Nowitzki and the crew. This Cleveland Cavaliers team is worse than that team. Remember, that team had Jason Kidd, a big-time point guard. Had Jason Terry, a former Sixth Man of the Year and one of the great shooters in this game. Had a few other pieces as well. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget that at all. Let's go to Antoine in South Carolina. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, Antoine.
How you doing, Stephen A?
I'm good. What's up?
I just want to say, man, Legler made a lot of good points, but one thing I'm thinking about with J.R. Smith's blunder he made, and no one's looking at this, is two things. First, I think it bailed out the referees on that charge call, because I feel like if you make that call, you got whatever you call on the floor has to stand. If it's a block, you call that, it's stay. If it's a charge, you keep that too. But I also think it bailed out Kevin Durant, because like you were pointing out, he didn't show up last night against LeBron James. LeBron came out like a man possessed, and like he was ready to make a statement. Certainly, it looked like he was trying to make a statement towards him, and he didn't show it up. So I think that JR blunder really, really kind of like covered that up and saved that from really being a storyline for the day. What do you think?
Well, I don't understand your question, bro. I really don't.
No, I'm asking, like, how do you feel about JR's blunder covering up the fact that if that didn't happen, that charge call that they turned around really build up the referee for making a bad call at that spot?
Well, listen, you can say that. You can say they build the referee for making a bad call, but at the end of the day, that's the league office. They have dominion over the league, the referees. The referees made a call based on going to the videotape. The league would have came out and said we made the wrong call, or the review should not have happened. They would have said something along those lines. They had to move forward. So it really doesn't matter to me. I like the fact that I don't like what happened to JR, because I actually think he's a nice guy, and I don't wish that on him or anybody. The flip side to it is that I'd rather it be something that comes down to the players as opposed to coming down to the officials. That's my thing.
Yeah, so that's how I feel too. And Kevin Durant, he got the show up game too. I think he's going to have a big game, but
I think
LeBron
so too. But he didn't show up in game
game
1. He wanted no parts of LeBron James last night. You could tell. He wanted no parts of LeBron James. Appreciate the call, man. Thank you. Chris in L.A., you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, Stephen A. Real quick, that's what I actually disagree with you and Tim Legler about feeling bad for LeBron regarding the performance he put on, not really getting much help and everything else that transpired. You got to keep in mind that this is a guy that the Cleveland organization has catered to since his return. So for us to say we feel bad for him now, I don't necessarily see it that way, but that's just my opinion.
I don't understand what you're saying. I don't understand what your problem is. For us to say what?
As far as you and Tim Legler saying that you guys felt bad for LeBron for the performance he put on last night and everything else that transpired, whether it was J.R. Smith not calling a timeout, not getting a shot up, or whether it was the block charge, non-call, or turnover, whatever it was. I don't necessarily feel bad. Like I said, it's a guy that the team has catered to since he's returned to Cleveland, and they've given him what he wanted. So now that he doesn't have the necessary or the requisite parts around him, now we feel bad for him. So that's the way I look at it. So I was saying I disagree with you and Tim Legler from that aspect.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay. As far as what I saw last night, I think that the Cavs should be feeling, I know it was a bad loss. They had a chance to win, but I feel like the Cavs should walk away with their heads held high, Stephen A., because they obviously walked into the Oracle, heavy underdog. They took the Warriors' best punch with their 3 best players, all scoring 20-plus points. Everything that transpired with J.R. Smith and the block non-call with LeBron, and they still had a chance to win the game. So I think that the physicality that Cleveland presented last night, I think that it caught Golden State off guard, and the fact that LeBron's able to do what he wants against Golden State defensively, when Golden State, for some reason, odd reason, continues to switch and put other guys on him, and LeBron is able to get to the rim at will with no rim protector. I think that Cleveland actually walks around with their head held high, despite the loss.
Okay. You can say walk around with their head held high all you want to. Here's all I know. You lose an NBA Finals, ain't no morals victories. That much I can tell you. I got to run, Chris. I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much. Let's go to Mark in West Virginia. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Mark?
Hey, Stephen A. Big fan, man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So, I hear all these people talking about, JR's stupid play and, the charge that was a block and with the charge and back to a block. But, why isn't anybody talking about why LeBron James, he could have, kind of done away with this JR, mess up if he would have just taken upon himself. I mean, he was being guarded by Steph Curry, 6'3", 185 pounds. He could have taken the ball himself and not trying to make a pass and taken the last shot. I mean, he had 51 points that game. Why did he choose not to take it upon himself? He's carried the Cavs through this entire
Are you talking about
season.
The play where he decided to pass the ball to George Hill?
Yeah. I'm talking about the
well,
play.
Like I said, that's the
to
same
pass.
thing Champ called up and mentioned. The point is that, listen, I'm not one that applauds LeBron James for making the right play all the time instead of taking the bull by the horn. But the reality is clear. They were down 1. He gave the ball to George Hill for a layup. George Hill got fouled. He's an 80% shooter. We're not sitting here having this conversation if George Hill hits both those free throws. We're not having that conversation. So the point that I'm trying to make to you is that the greatest player in the world was making every play. He wasn't just scoring. He was scoring. He was rebounding. He was assisting. He was doing it all. And it wasn't like he gave to George Hill for a jump shot. He gave it to George Hill for a layup. And when you're playing professional basketball, there's nothing wrong with giving the ball to somebody for a layup. That's what he did.
Yeah. I got you.
All right, I got to go. I appreciate the call. Thank you so much. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. More of the Stephen A. Smith Show with your calls to close out the show in a minute. You're listening live to yours truly, Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Kevin in Oklahoma City. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, Stephen A. Thanks for taking my call.
All right, go ahead.
Just real quick, just LeBron James and his dominance is just unbelievable. Not only, just going through the East and being dominant against young teams like Boston and Philly, but to be dominant against 3 of the best players in the NBA and 2 former MVPs last night is just, he continues to prove he's the greatest force in basketball right now. I totally agree with you that on the restricted area review, that should have taken about 20 seconds just to see if he was in the restricted area or not.
That's it.
And then as far as, J.R. Smith, to quote the late, great Denny Green, he is who we thought he was. That's, what we've come to expect from him. The sad part is that, you're going to owe him $14 million next year for someone, that has the basketball IQ of a 10-year-old.
Well, you got to remember
and then as far
Kevin,
as
Kevin, I don't know if we expected that from JR. Not that. But go ahead. Last point.
That was a little too much. And then I think, I felt personally that there was maybe a 20% chance that LeBron would be back in Cleveland. I think that dropped to 0% last night, just with Dan Gilbert. And then, Cleveland has no money to go get anyone else, so he's going to have to carry everyone again next year. And
got it.
I don't see him coming back to Cleveland.
I got you.
But
Kevin, I got to run. I appreciate the call. All your points are valid, no doubt about it. Appreciate the call. Gerald in Pasadena, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Gerald, go ahead.
What's up, Stephen A.? I have to give big shots out to Max Kellerman. I debated Max Kellerman, Marcellus Wiley, but basically Max Kellerman over the past 8 years on LeBron James. He left the show. Now they gave it to you. I appreciate you taking up the slack and doing a great job at it. I just want to make a few comments if you'd be so kind to let
Hurry up. Go ahead.
These people are watching the greatest basketball player of our generation, and ultimately, in the end, the greatest of all times. They're watching it live, and they're missing it. LeBron said it best. Most of these chumps have never put on a tank top, never put on shorts, never laced up high tops. They've never even walked out their own door to go work out, let alone to make comments on the greatest player that we've ever seen.
Have you? Gerald's gone. So apparently Gerald didn't play. He's calling everybody else chumps, but he left himself out. Not that I'm calling him a chump. I'm just saying, mind your manners. Pete in Jersey City, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Pete, go ahead.
Hey, what's up, Stephen A.? Big fan. I just want to say, I wanted to get at you with the LeBron-Jordan comparison. I just want to say really quick, I've just felt bad for JR, man. I mean, that could happen to anyone, but in that spot, and just his face when LeBron was, like, yelling at him, it just made me feel for the guy a little bit.
I will tell you this. I'm not debating LeBron and MJ with you today because I don't have the time.
Just 1 second. Just call you on something you said on Golic.
Go ahead.
All right. The only thing I want to say is you say because of the era they played in, obviously LeBron can't be number one. But then the next sentence after that, you say LeBron's number two. So if he can't be number one because of that fact, how can you say right off the bat he's number two then? So that means no one can ever just pass MJ?
Because number two would be Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is a center. So when you're 7'1", 7'2", and your move as a sky hook is unstoppable as it was, but you're limited in terms of what you can do because you're a big man, you're a center, that would be the debate.
I'm just saying, you said he can't be number one.
I'm telling you what, I'm answering your question. Didn't I say I didn't have enough time? So I let you bring up the question anyway, and I'm answering it for you. LeBron James and Michael Jordan, you're talking about a guard and a forward that plays like a guard. I'm looking at their requisite skill sets, what they bring to the table. If I really wanted to get literal with it, I would have put Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the equation. I just didn't want to do that. Have a nice day. Bill in Ohio, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Yes, sir. Thanks for taking my call.
All right, you only got a minute. Go ahead.
All right, real quick. I think JR's taking too much of the blame when it isn't all his fault. He got a rebound in the middle of the key with everybody around him. He had 4 Golden State players around him. If he would have just stood there and held the ball with a tie game, if they would have stripped the ball from him or blocked the shot if he tried to throw it back up, what's going to happen? Golden State's going to call timeout. They're going to put the ball down the other end, and now they got 3 or 4 seconds to make a shot that you've seen Curry make at the end of the half.
It was not that he ran away from the basket, sir. It was that he was running towards half court and that he was caught absolutely admitting to LeBron James that he didn't know that the score was tied.
Yeah, but
you're looking at the play. You're not looking at what his intent was. His intent was to run out the clock because he didn't pay attention enough because he didn't know they were tied.
Say we're reading his lips. However, when he was questioned about it, he said he knew the score.
He lied, sir. He lied. He didn't know that the score was tied. Jesus. What is wrong with you people? You know what? That's it. I'm out. I'll talk to y'all Monday. Peace and love.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.